Welcome Research and Study Skills students. Here I'll be introducing you to Patch 2, the importance and influence of research within the early years. This short video will be complementing the taught session that you've had within class and will provide a review of the assessment requirements, an overview of a potential structure for Patch 2, your written work, and provide direction for independent research. So considering the learning outcome that is associated with this patch, you are to retrieve information from a variety of sources, that means a range of references, considering the implications of research to professional practice and its management. So let's apply that to our assignment guidelines. Here you're to write a text about an importance of research within the early years and its influence on early years practice and management. You'll be writing approximately 900 words within the third person using the academic language and writing skills you've been developing over the period of the module. You will need to include some examples of specific research in the early years that has or could be used in the future to improve professional practice. You'll provide reference to at least 2 pieces of research that have influenced early years practice. And consider the future of the research within the early years. So I'm going to provide you with some guidelines to help you write your patch. And of course, you can write it in any way that you'd like, but this might give you some ideas of what you could consider. Try to explain the purpose of carrying out research within the early years sector. Discuss who should benefit from the dissemination of research, that's the communication of research in the early years sector. Provide an overview of a range of research in the early years to explain its diversity. And provide an overview of at least 2 specific examples of research in the early years that you've researched independently. And finally, you might like to conclude by discussing the importance of research in the early years and the future influences on this. So let's explore these in a little bit more detail. So why do we have research in the early years? Well, here this is an extension upon what we talked about in Patch 1 when we looked at why we have social research. It aims to tell us about the world beyond our own immediate experiences. It enables us to question how and why things are done. Enables us to gather evidence to gain greater knowledge and understanding and give us the confidence to make constructive changes for improvement, whether that be nationally, locally, or within a setting. Many research gives us the opportunity to provide vital information for governments and policymakers, local authorities, NGOs and others when considering their strategies. For example, the EPI study, which is a longitudinal study, has had a number of influences on today's early years practice. It can test the impact through evaluating new initiatives. It enables us to pilot ideas. So for example, recently over the last couple of years, the government were looking to introduce a benchmark assessment within reception classes. This was tested across some schools and through feedback not only from schools, families and the profession as a whole, they decided to withdraw that initiative and not continue with that. Of course, there'll always be something new that will come up to replace that. But again, it does enable you to provide a piloting system to evaluate new ideas. It can explore opportunities for improvement and raise awareness for public benefit. Enables us to share knowledge and advance our personal practice through doing so. It aids growth and productivity, promotes innovation, engages society, and can help us deliver international impact, policy and practice. And it should tackle major issues to make a real difference to children's and families' lives, as well as the people that work with those. So let's consider that a little bit further. So who should benefit from research in the early years? Of course, the child and the family must be a priority. But we also need to help those people that work with children and their families. So for example, people that work in nurseries, preschools, within schools, in education, helping people outside of education. So for example, health and social care agencies, social workers, speech and language therapists, educational psychologists, for example. There are a number of agencies that work together for the benefit of children and their families. It should benefit governments. We talked about NGOs as well, who will all shape policy and provide support to children and their family. And it's probably quite useful to put that across and a short overview of who should benefit from research in the early years. And of course, it's such a wide range of people. You can expand upon the list I've provided. And this just shows you a diversity of what research actually can cover within the early years. Research is done from birth, from the time that children are in a mother's stomach growing. Research is therefore to help nurseries, to help shape policy. There'll be research within mental health for children, supporting children, attachment theory, resilience, how to best manage and lead settings, how to overcome poverty, how to help safeguard children. If you think about all the modules that you're covering, outdoor play, another one, it's such a wide, diverse range of areas that research can and is happening within. And you might want to just share to expand that actually, whilst you'll be discussing two major pieces of research, that you know that there's a lot more research beyond those two that you're talking about. And try to get that message across. So once you've got that message across and you start considering your two examples of research in the early years that you've researched independently, you might want to consider the purpose of that research, the benefits and of that research, who it's going to benefit, any limitations that there might be about the research, any shortfalls within it, and the overall impact of that research. So the impact of what might already have happened, how it's influenced policy, how it's influenced the way that we work with children and their families. Or there might be research there at the moment that hasn't made an influence, but could do in the future that you might choose to use. Use Athens to access for journals for research if you'd like. There's a great search tool on there for you to look at an area that you're particularly interested in. Have a look on Moodle for the internet sources that you've been provided. Check Moodle for examples of research that we've gone through in class, and I'll show those as we come to the end of this presentation so you know where to access information from. So once we've talked about a couple of examples of research, we've provided an overview of that, then it's time to start concluding. Ask yourselves, what have you learned about the importance of research in the early years? Do you think it needs to continue? Does it need to be improved? Is it something that's always going to be changing? Is there always going to be a need for research in the early years? And I'll let you think about what you've learned about the importance of research within the early years. But if you come to the conclusion that actually research is important. It's fundamental to provide fantastic service and support to children and their families, and those people that support children and their families, whether it be in education, preschool, health and social care, as an example. You're going to need to think about the influences on research moving forward within the early years. And there are a lot of factors that research will be dependent on. For example, political views, legislation, social issues, society, the funding that agencies can get to enable us to be able to carry out research. The feasibility, the time involved. There are a wide range of factors that influence, as you can see on the slide, that will impact the ability to carry out research within the early years moving forward. And we hope that we can eliminate the issues to ensure that we can continue to provide world-class research within the early years. So I'm now going to just flip over onto my Moodle course. If you just bear with me, I'm just going to bring this up. So here you've got on your screen, this is my Moodle course. It should be pretty much the same as what you see. So here you've got the presentation that I've just been going through. There are examples of major research within the early years within this Word document here that we've gone through and talked about in class. Here, BERA, the British Educational Research Agency, has got 40 examples of research over the last 40 years within education that may benefit you. And there are a number of internet links. If you access this area here, basically click on it, and these little marbles all relate to a specific internet source that you may want to have a look at yourself. So basically that's it. We've provided you with some guidelines on how you might want to approach your patch. I look forward to seeing the patches back in class, and enjoy your time researching. Thank you for spending the time watching this video. I look forward to seeing you in class.